Bonjour mes élèves, ça va? One of the things that I do as a teacher is teach my students how to give acknowledgments. Now, another way to say acknowledgments is simply compliments or credit where credit is due. This is a video about credit that is long overdue. When I was a high school student, Senegal, West Africa, I was on the outside of any group. I was a very angry kid. I didn't get along with a lot of people, not unlike now where I'm the center of all attention. Anyway, we lived in a dorm situation, and the guys lived on one side, the girls lived on the other, and it was middle school to high school on both sides. Now, in this situation, being a person who was angry and an outsider, I always viewed myself as that. Needless to say, I wasn't well liked. Now, there were a few people who were less liked than even I was, which is amazing. One of them was a young lady by the name of Matilda. Matilda's family was from Northern Europe. And we didn't understand that because most of us were Americans or Canadians, and Northern European customs and culture was very different to us at that time. Also, Matilda's family had this thing where you've heard about kids who were all arms and legs growing up. Well, this was true for Matilda and her brothers, her younger brothers. They had very large hands, large elbows, large knees, large feet, and then everything else was very, very skinny. So needless to say, they were an odd-looking bunch, even more so than the rest of us. Now, what that did is it brought a lot of ridicule onto Matilda. And as far as I know, Matilda may have grown up to become a very beautiful woman. I don't know. I didn't keep up with this family. But Matilda taught me an interesting lesson, which I like to share with my students since I'm a middle school teacher. The girls in the dorm used to sit around and talk about which guys were the better looking. You know, which guy was nicer, which guy would they like to go out with if, you know, they were going out. Of course, we weren't because we lived in a dorm situation and that would have been really difficult. Well, all of the girls would pick, starting with the dorm parent's son, that would be number one, and then moving on down the list. And, you know, from what I've told you about me, obviously I'm coming in at the bottom. Well, Matilda, she would always say, I think Rob is the best looking. And I didn't know anything about this at the time. Matilda later told me that this was going on. Matilda could have gone and said, you know what, I agree with you. One of these other guys is better looking or more interesting than I was. But she didn't do that. She put herself out there as a target of ridicule to pick me. Now, I found out about this one day when I was walking back from class and I was wearing this muscle shirt with multicolors. You know, it's kind of like Joseph's Technicolor coat. Well, Matilda said, you know, you've got another one just like that, except the collar is beige instead of red. Well, sure enough, I went and I checked, and she was right. One of them was beige, one of them was red. And after that, she had told me the story. And it became obvious that Matilda was interested in me. Now, did that mean that I was going to be interested in Matilda? No. Did it mean that I found Matilda more attractive than I had before? I would like to be able to say yes, but the honest answer is no. She was still the same person. But what it did do is show me that here's a person who actually is paying attention to me, actually cares about who I am, and is thinking about me. She's thinking about me so much that she's actually putting herself at risk of ridicule to support me, to stand up for me, and to say that she likes me, you know, best of all the guys. Well, what I learned from that and what I try to teach my students is that when people are paying attention to you, when people like you, it's good to be courteous, to be considerate of their feelings. So many times in life when somebody says something nice to you, if you don't like them, especially my kids, they will assault them, verbally assault them, call them names and put them down. So I always try to tell them this story and let them know that you really have to be sensitive. Now that doesn't mean you have to like somebody. It doesn't mean that you have to go out with them. But you do have to be sensitive. They are, after all, taking a really huge risk here. And you don't know how much of a risk. Sometimes it's far more than you can even imagine. Perhaps they've been abused, and they're just putting themselves out there for abuse one more time. So this, as I said, this is a long overdue thank you to Matilda, who taught me a really important lesson when I was a high school student. I didn't have a venue like YouTube to put this out there so that other people could know about this.